Whether you want freelance clients or a full-time role, I'll walk you step by step through creating a portfolio that actually lands you work. No matter where you're at in your design career, we're going to figure out together exactly how your portfolio needs to look, because this isn't generic. It depends on your goals and the work you want next. In 2026, with global competition and the rise of AI, you can't afford to approach this casually. So instead of random list of generic tips, follow along with me on this structured process. Grab a notepad, be decisive with your answers, and let's start at the beginning with the questions that matter. Do you want to work with big or small companies? Actually write it down. It's going to feel very different. In a big company, you're more likely to get the opportunity to be a specialist. And what will be important is to show how you work well in a team. If you're working with small companies, it's more likely that they're going to require generalists because they don't have the budget to be able to hire specialists for every different discipline. So you might, in a web design context, need to be pulling together image making, being able to do good visual design, which includes layout, includes typography. You need to think about the structure of the site. You need to think about the development environment, the CMS platform it's built on, the technologies it will need, all the functionality, helping them understand the role of a website in their business, whether you're working in-house or freelance. So this decision is important at the beginning. Next, do you want to work full-time or freelance? Just looking for anybody who will give you money is not a good plan. Makes you look desperate. And you need to think about what suits you best. Are you better in the structure of a full-time environment where you get probably more time to actually do the work that you're good at doing? I would say that's best for most people. For a minority of people, it would be freelancing. There might be more opportunity there, potentially more variety, but you will spend less time actually designing, developing, whatever your skill is, because you have to do all the other functions of running a business as well. So if you're going to work full time, take more time to say who you are. Your presentation, your portfolio will be more about you. You want to talk about your accomplishments. In this situation, you can include a little bit of a resume or a CV style in your portfolio that talks about where you've worked and what you've done. But if you're going to freelance, don't talk about yourself. Talk about what you can do for them. Your portfolio and your messaging needs to be all about the client. And you need to be sharing more of your process of how you actually help people achieve that result, and testimonials from people that you've helped in the past. What kind of company do you want to work with? Would you prefer to be in-house, working just with one company full-time, or if you're freelancing, perhaps working direct with the companies themselves? Or do you want to work in a design studio or an agency environment where one team is working on lots of different projects if you're full-time, or if you're freelance, maybe you're a subcontractor into those design studios who will then provide the services to the array of clients? Think also about the industry that you want to work in. Do you have any experience in a particular area? Now, while I believe designers have the ability, the creative and craft skills to apply their work to lots of different industries, the reality is when people are looking to hire you, they often want to see experience in a particular lane. And you can draw from your knowledge of that industry in your work. Location is a factor too. If you're freelancing, you might want to work with clients you can actually see in person. Or if you're looking for a full-time job, it may not be fully remote. It may be that you need to go into the office at least some of the time, or be located in the same country as the business. So you need to think about what is actually available to you, because the options for somebody who lives in San Francisco are going to be different from the options from someone who lives in Colombo, Sri Lanka. And again, they're going to be different if you live in Johannesburg, South Africa. So wherever you are, it will give you a particular opportunity, and you need to consider that. Think about the style, the attitude or approach of the kind of company you want to work for also. Is it going to be very corporate and buttoned up, or a little bit more punk rock? That's really going to affect your portfolio, whether it's going to look more standardized and business-like, or whether you actually have license to do something which is more unusual and pushing the envelope, because certain people are not actually looking for everything to always be just technically correct and follow all the best practices of user interface design. Actually, sometimes something which is unusual, which grabs attention, which is artistic, can actually be a winner if it lands with the right client. We now have a picture of the kind of place where we want to work. I want you next to list all the projects you could potentially include. Write down every single one, even if you think I probably wouldn't include that. Just list everything that you've got some sort of evidence for that you could include in your portfolio. Or if you're more of a visual designer, the ones that you have imagery for or that you can get. And then we want to narrow them down by thinking with this long list, which best fit the parameters we've already established. Can you narrow these down? Can you group them by skills that you've used? More on the visual design skills, more on development, more on image creation, whatever grouping you have. Can we group them by industry? Can we group them by the style of the project, a particular visual design style, or a technology that you've used, a service that you've offered? Ideally, all three will sort of come together and will make them fit the kind of company where we want to work. We want to make sure our portfolio consistently appeals to the right people. So what I want you to do from these groups and from these options you've got is choose 4 to 6 projects. Now that for me is the ideal. If you're an individual freelancer or you're looking for a work, 3 would probably then be in the minimum, because less than that, it's hard to really see any breadth of work and build up a picture of you as a creative. Now you might be thinking, Matt, I don't have 6 to 8 great projects that show the evidence that I need for the kind of companies that I want to work for. Well, if you have gaps, then you need to write yourself a brief, and that could just be some little notes right now for personal projects. So you can go away and say, look, I know I've got visual design skills that are not coming through here because I've not had the opportunity to do that in previous roles. So I'm going to go away and create some web designs that are beautiful, and I'm going to include those into my portfolio and explain that they are personal projects, but they are there as evidence for any future employer. The next step is to prepare these projects. So firstly, I just want to gather everything you've got. Make folders on your computer that are named for case study, for whatever the project name is, and dump everything in there you've got, all your notes, all your sketches, all the information you've got about the project into a document. Get all the images in there. Maybe you throw them onto a Figma file. Gather absolutely everything you've got. So you've just got that raw materials. And then we want to craft that into a case study. This is not an art project. We are trying to get a job, or we're trying to land a client. So this needs to be a case study that explains the value that we add. So I would like you to show your process. Explain how you get to the result. This is vital in the AI age. It's very quick now to produce an image which at first glance looks impressive. But if you can actually show how you get to the result, you can show how you can add that value to the team. So what should our case studies actually look like? Well, to know this, we should look at the very best practices in our industry, the websites of design studios and particularly branding agencies. And I would recommend that over your sort of marketing agency that does website or more tech-focused people, because they will know how to present things beautifully. So if you go to a major agency and see how they structure the name of this project, they give you that little bit of information, a sentence at the beginning that gives you context for what it's about, with a hero image that really invites you into it. And then if you want more information, it's there to click through. Or if you want to major more on looking at the images, you have the option to do that as well. And these sort of case studies really give us that opportunity to see the way things are done. So copy this sort of structure, one that best fits the kind of work that you do. If you're more on visuals, show more imagery and have a little bit less text. If you're more on the development side or the UX side, then you want to have more diagrams and more talk about process and achievements and results. So now we have a structure and we have all our raw materials. What I want you to do is art direct every single image. There's so many mistakes that happen where people have a website which is decently designed, but they present it so poorly. they put it over, ugly backgrounds, or they put it, in borders within borders, or decoration around it so we can't see it. Or conversely, they just put like a really flat looking screenshot. Whereas perhaps that could go into an object, a device. Perhaps it could go off axis. Perhaps, as I said earlier, it could be photographed. There's all different ways to present some things. Look at how the best do it and make sure every single image you include on your site has been art directed. You've genuinely thought about the best way to present it. When it comes to websites, they're interactive. They're not just flat images. This is not print design. So we need to see a bit of interactivity. So I recommend using video wherever possible, video that's optimized and loads quick, but that shows the animations and the interactions on the website, particularly if that's a strength of yours. And wherever possible, if you can include live links to the website, that also gives you more credibility to show that this is a real live project, and it allows the viewer to go to that site and click around themselves. When you write your case study, make sure you're clear about what you did. A good recruiter or client will soon sniff out any lies and anything misleading. Do not put something in your portfolio that is not your original work. If you followed a tutorial, you can't put that in your portfolio. If lots of people worked on this as a team and you were part of it, that's okay. But you need to credit those people and be very specific about the part that you did and the role that you did in this project. So if all you did was, add a little bit of custom code into a project to make the blog work, then showing all the front end visual design of the website as if it's your work, that's misleading. That's not right. Until we can't be doing that. So be clear about what you did and how you contributed. And then finally, just edit this thing. Keep editing it, keep refining it. If you look at it and you think, this is lacking images, then make more images. Go back to those files and create more things out of it so you've got enough images to fill out that case study. Write more copy as needed where you feel things need explaining. Or if it's getting too long and there's just so much text that nobody's realistically going to read, then edit it, break it up, make it scannable as we go through that website, and edit, and really get these case studies really, really sharp. So we have these case studies and they're going to be accessible via our website, but how do we actually structure the website or the page? Well, at the top of every website, we have a hero section, and this is where you communicate value. So as we said at the beginning, if you're going to be full-time, then that value is you. It's who you are. So I need to see in a nanosecond, who are you? Tell me your job title or your role, exactly what you do, perhaps your location if you're looking for a full-time job. And it really needs to be that level of clarity so I know that who I'm looking at. Because if I'm confused and there's a generic sentence about I help elevate web experiences through synergy, and I'm not even going to bother reading on with that because I just don't know where I am. And these hiring managers and potential clients are looking at so many websites. We've got to communicate quickly. But if you're looking for freelance work, then the value is about the value you deliver for them. So your hero section needs to communicate that I can do this for you. This is how I will help you. This is the transformation that can be affected in your business through this particular skill or services that I offer. So having oriented the user and communicated a little bit about your value, I would have some social proof here, ideally. This helps to build trust. So if you have recognizable logos from companies that you've worked with that are well known, I would include them here. You can always explain somewhere else exactly what you did on those projects. If you don't have that, then you could include a couple of testimonials here, just maybe a one sentence. Ideally, if it's got a photograph of somebody with their name, their job title, someone that can be checked out, LinkedIn, verified that they're a legit person. Having some testimonials there will be really helpful. So if you don't have those, you've got to go and ask for them. You've got to go and find them. So a little bit of social proof after the hero section. Then next, I would show in the work. I wouldn't have people scrolling too long until we have some nice images, something that's inviting us into these case studies so we can click through and actually look at your work. And ideally, like a thumbnail gallery, which in itself already looks beautiful. It already communicates what you're about and the kind of thing that you do. Then there's room to have a little bit of an about section. So if you're looking for a job, that's an about section for you. It's maybe your work history, it's the specific skills that you have, it's maybe where you're located, this sort of level and role you're looking for. If you are freelancing, then it's about your process. Give them confidence in the process that the results won't be random, but it will actually be that because you follow that structure, you will get them to where they need to be. And then lastly, but probably one of the most important things, is make sure your contact details are really clear. People can check you out on social media or connect with you on LinkedIn, but being able to email you as a minimum is really, really important. Maybe phone numbers if you're looking at more local things, but having those contact details probably linked from the top navigation and very clear in the footer. Don't neglect that. So now this is all planned out. Maybe it's just all in Figma. You've given yourself a bit of a brief. You've gathered these case studies, you've written them, and you have a structure for this homepage. What do you need to do? Well, you need to get this thing online. No PDFs. We are beyond the era of PDFs. Even if you're not really a web designer and you're watching this and you're more in the graphic space or illustration, something there, you still need to get this thing online. It's so easy to do nowadays, and it's much easier for the person viewing it. We don't want to download and store large PDFs, but having a link we can just go to, it's interactive. It's not an option anymore. It's got to be online. How do you get it online? Well, there's portfolio templates and there's CMS systems and all that kind of thing. But I would recommend that you jump into specific videos that we have that will link here on the channel. You can get something up and running in Webflow or Framer very quickly, either with a template or with AI Builder or just by learning the basics, which we'll teach you. And having that sort of portfolio that you can edit and customize is really, really important. And with your website, you definitely need to get a custom domain. Some people want to push back on this, but a custom domain is such a small investment each year in your career compared to the amount of money that you're going to make. And it really professionalizes it. It allows whoever's viewing your portfolio to look at that address bar and see maybe your name, something that matches with the website. It looks more professional, more credible, and you're going to keep this domain for the rest of your life. If it's your own name or something associated with your freelance business, it's definitely worth doing. We have a free training entitled 3 Steps to a Thriving Web Design Career, which you can access via the link in the description. That would be a great next step alongside getting your portfolio online. As well as our paid academy programs that come with one-to-one support, we also have hundreds of videos here on the channel to help you with visual design, web development, freelancing, whatever your current challenge is. So search around the channel for what you need. Best of luck, and until next time, happy designing.